The ANC's National Executive Committee has extended its meeting by another day as it resumes talks on President Jacob Zuma's ability to lead. On Saturday, Derek Hanekom tabled a motion for Zuma to be recalled as president. ENCA understand this matter will be picked up this morning. Well, for more analysis on this, we joined in the studio by political analyst Ralph Mathekga. Ralph, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us again here on Morning News today. Yet again, very much focus this week as we begin another week. We thought by this morning we'll be analyzing a statement of the National Executive Committee, but they've extended it because after the ANC NEC met with the veterans on Friday for the second time last week, you and I on Friday were previewing that meeting here on Morning News today on ENCA. After that meeting, Derek Hanekom apparently tabled a motion to say the president, let's discuss his fitness or not to lead. Maybe we should be recalling him. Things have sort of changed somewhat now. A sharp focus really on that for the first time. I recall a few weeks ago, Gwede Mantashe saying, no, at the NEC, we've never discussed whether or not the president is fit. But now things have changed somewhat.
Very interesting indeed. As you point out, for the first time, they managed to get that on the agenda. I don't know what they had to do to get it on the agenda. There are reports coming out that they pushed it through so that the issue of President Jacob Zuma's leadership can be discussed. I think that is a positive step within the ANC NEC. But of course, we should not be naive by thinking that this will come out with a form of a yes or no verdict at the end of the day. Because it is not up to the ANC NEC to make this kind of a decision final on its own. The NEC of the ANC can persuade, they can say we lost confidence in the president, and therefore what needs to be done to affirm that kind of a decision, if they vote in support of that, will be then to take this thing maybe perhaps to a special congress of the ANC, which will need to be convened and so that the issue can be dealt with by the branches of the ANC. Remember that President Jacob Zuma was not elected by the ANC NEC, but the importance of the position of the NEC on this will be to actually try to take that position to lobby or even to say that, Mr. President, we have lost confidence. We persuade you that don't make this a long drawn fight. Please live peacefully. That is what I think they can achieve, or that is what is possible to achieve within that kind of a framework. We're
going to have to see what that statement says later on today. That's presumed, of course, that the NEC does get concluded today. Yeah. Now, that motion that was tabled on Saturday by Derek Hanekom was coming a day after they had a second meeting with the veterans. Seemingly, in 1 week, 2 meetings, some progress has been made from what one is hearing from various commentators about, yes, maybe going towards that elective conference in December next year, we need to be looking at this body politic of the ANC to say, what is the future of this organization? How do we renew this beyond just one individual to make sure that it regains its moral ground and look at some of the principles going forward? Could we be reading this continuous engagement between the veterans and the stalwarts on the one hand with the current NEC, the leadership of the ANC, and this question as a serious introspection in how the organization should be shaping itself for a different future post-2019?
Indeed, the end game of this is what's going to happen at the elective conference of the ANC. And in order to persuade, or maybe for the veterans, for some members of the ANC, for those who have a problem with the direction of the ANC, in order for them to persuade issues towards a benign direction, towards having a leader who's not going to be anointed by President Jacob Zuma, the strategy is to begin now by trying to have a conversation within the ANC. Take this thing beyond an individual. Think about what kind of leadership the ANC requires. And if you limit their discussion to Zuma going now on, Zuma is going to go at the end of the day. That doesn't matter more. It's just a question of months and so forth. But the question is how much of the ANC they can salvage through this discussion, through this persuasive engagement going into 2017. How can they make sure that he doesn't get his hand on who becomes the next leader of the ANC? That for me is the end game of this discussion. This discussion should not be judged on what they achieve today or tomorrow, but I think they contribute towards the longer process of leadership discussion within the ANC.
So it's deeper than that. It's more really about in-depth renewal of the organization. It's not about an individual. It's about the system. It's about the structure. It's about how the ANC renews itself and maybe basically also maybe changes some of the way how it elects its leadership and how some of its principles maybe, or revisit some of its core values.
Exactly. For me, that is what matters a lot. Remember when they went into Mangaung conference in 2012, there was no this kind of a discussion that were taking place, which you could say are concerned about the leadership fabric of the ANC. There was just a lot of factions within that. But now, if you can be able to strike this discussion where you are talking about the moral basis of the party outside individual leaders, you just may be able to get to a point where at least the leader who comes out of this discussion is someone who helped the party to regain that moral grounding in our society.
Thank you very much for your analysis there. That's political analyst Ralph Mathekga, just giving some of his insights about the ANC's NEC and what we should expect to come out of it later today. Now,